if you're listening, make money you got and it will surely plague you like the devil. If we reap what we sow, are we nothing more than what we owe? Just $1 and a dream, wake up. Treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. When things get way too real, will we reach out for the guns or will we reach out to God? And if you're with me, saving dollars while we're losing souls on a whole nother level. They say time is money and you can get more money to find, but you can't get more time. Save a dime. We might as well spend all of our time. If we can't save a dime, we might as well spend all of our time.
Welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative, gang. It's February 3rd. It's the year 2024, and a special shout out to Slave to Servant, their album Singularity. And their hit single, Baptized in Credit, which you just heard, Slave to Servant. Actually, I'll show you on camera here. I actually have the album, the CD, and met Sam, the guitarist for the group, last Sunday at the Prepared Homestead meeting. That was a real privilege. But look at that debt, gang. $34,160 billion. Now, it's not excessively over where it was last time. I think we've added about $9 billion. But at the same time, we did add $9 billion in the last week, which is really cool. We did $91 billion, I think, the week before. So, yeah, there's an ebb and flow to it. It's just a few $1 billion lost here and there in the sands of time, I always say. But that is the debt, the national debt. So let me bring up our wonderful crowd here inside of Gilded. And I'm sorry, Rita, what's that? Can't hear me? Okay, gotcha. All right, you should be able to hear me now. Yeah, I muted. Sorry about that. That's a new process I figured out, basically during the music portion of the beginning. Give us a 5x5 on whatever platform you're on. While we're waiting for those 5x5s, I want to say hello to everyone who's joined us in Gilded tonight. So a special hello to Liberty Revolutionary, also known as Caleb. We've got Gretchen Garrity with us, and Right to Win Ozarks blog. She actually writes that blog, so it's always a privilege to have her with us. We have Goatfoot Grant with us over there as well, with the Missouri flag in the background. Looking good, sir. Looking good. We also have with us Doug and Maya. We have with us Shane from Wisconsin, very good friend of mine, by the way. We have Voodoo Queen with us, who has been a member of the Missouri Freedom Initiative since, I think, the very beginning. We have Wonder Woman with us, also known as Retha. And we also have Tom Martz, who is one of the officials with the Lock and Smith Foundation with us tonight. So I want to welcome all of you. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me check over here on the socials real quick and see if we're getting 5x5s coming in. Awesome. Oh, we're getting a 30-06 from Guitar Authority. It's not quite the 5x5. It's actually better. It's better than a 5x5. If you want to throw your favorite caliber in rather than doing the standard, boring 5x5, we appreciate that. Throw in your favorite caliber instead. Okay, so on YouTube, they're hearing us fine. And on Rumble, CL Moody is checking in on Rumble, and that's from St. Louis. Hello, CL Moody. Thank you for joining. Jill King is a 5x5 as well on Rumble, so let me check real quick on Odysee. And we're getting 5.56 on Odysee. Awesome. Wizard in the Woods. Thank you. Go. That's an excellent caliber. It's one of my personal favorites. So at any rate, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. And before we get started tonight, because actually I'm going to turn Retha loose on the floor here to talk about some of the activities of the Missouri Freedom Initiative in regards to the public schools. We'll talk about that just a little bit tonight before we get on to some main business. But what a week! Holy mackerel, what a week, gang. Big week. So on Tuesday, while Knock and Shock, the day of Knock and Shock, we had probably, there's anyone's guess. And by the way, these are not liberal numbers people are throwing out to make it seem bigger. But it's like 400 people that showed up at the Capitol. Amazing. I mean, you plan ahead for 2 or 3 weeks with a big organization like Missouri Right to Life, you might get those numbers. This was thrown together in 5 days. 5 days, gang, from its inception. Amazing turnout of patriots from the entire state of Missouri to support the Freedom Caucus in what they're attempting to do. And by the way, there's different points of view maybe on what they're trying to do. So in my point of view is they're going after corporatism. They're going after the status quo. That's what they're doing. And I like that. And I want that to continue happening. So, we're going to support them. Basically, this isn't about you or me. This is about Missouri not becoming Illinois, for the love of God. I mean, and by the way, that may seem like a really oversimplified statement when it comes to talking about the Freedom Caucus. But basically, I mean, that's it in a nutshell, isn't it, gang? I mean, we don't want to be Illinois. We really don't. So But we are going in that direction. And we're not just talking about personal property tax. We're talking about the tyranny that you see coming from your own government, from local government all the way up to state government, like they see in Illinois. Now, there are conservative parts of Illinois, too. I don't want to take that away. But they're being slowly but surely replaced, maybe by people coming in from outside the country. Who are probably going to vote. They're becoming police officers as we speak. That's correct. Illegal aliens becoming police officers in the state of Illinois. So maybe that can help with all their crime problem they have in Chicago. Who knows? Maybe they're onto something, and the rest of us, haven't figured it out yet. Basically just bring in people that don't speak English, put them in uniform, give them a badge, give them a gun, and just let them loose in the city. So if you're not real fond of that plan, it might be a good idea for you to start looking at freedom options, I guess, something that actually has something to do with the Constitution, maybe. Not that, the Constitution is what, the end all be all of freedom, but unfortunately it is. I'm sorry, it is. If we follow the Constitution, we will continue to have more freedom. But there was other stuff that happened this week, too. So before we get into Freedom Caucus stuff and Knock and Shock, which we will report on, it was a great Knock and Shock. But I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Retha because there was some extra activities that we engaged in above and beyond Freedom Caucus, rallies, Knock and Shock. And that's having to do with going to individual school districts and actually presenting data, particularly math, fourth grade math. So nothing more elaborate or exclusive than that. There was no secret handshakes to get into the door. We're just talking about standard math going through the bonds of a particular school district. Caleb, thank you for showing the newest Constitution, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, Gretchen showed it too.
Okay, gotcha. I missed that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep eye contact with the camera, So the go ahead.
The question is, could the school board members actually understand fourth grade math?
Well, actually, Retha's going to report on that. She actually has a report. So the guys, if we were in the military, Retha is giving us now what we call a sit rep, a situational report, and it's based on one school district, and that's Owensville. And with that, Retha, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Yes, this meeting in Owensville, doing this presentation Tuesday night after we got done with at the Capitol, was interesting to say the least. So I'm giving my slideshow presentation, about their bond history. I have, the graph and the years and all that kind of stuff, in order. And so here I am discussing the fluctuations in the refinancing. Well, I kept getting interrupted by this woman sitting in the middle of the audience, with each question or statement getting more aggressive to a point of making it difficult to even get through this information in my presentation in an organized fashion. Where some of the questions she was interrupting me and was asking was a little bit further in my presentation, like sometimes in my next slide, but apparently, she couldn't wait. And well, come to find out later, because everybody kind of wanted to know who this woman was. Come to find out, her name is Carrie Knowlting. Apparently, she works for the Missouri State Teachers Association. And what she does there, I don't know. And we also found out she's running for the school board. So I must have triggered her with something I said. I know I was talking about the MSBA. Maybe she thought I was talking about the MSTA. I don't know. And then she went on to state that she had a college degree. And if I remember correctly, was it in like school finance or something to that effect?
Yeah, a master's in business administration, I believe.
Okay, well, okay, business administration. Well, that would still fall under, school finance, right? But business. Okay. Then she goes on to ask me what my qualifications were and finances of bonds. I replied, math. I know math. So going on, she insinuated I was not qualified to speak to the finances on these bonds for the school district, apparently because I don't have a piece of paper and a large student debt to go with it. So just to make this clear, the math you need to understand for these bonds and what I'm presenting, really, you learn in second grade. It's simple addition and subtraction. I mean, the numbers are just a little bit bigger, but they're it's just simple addition and subtraction. It's not complicated. So think of it as just a checkbook, income that goes in and income and money that goes out, right? So, but you know, to be fair, there are things you need to read as well, maybe at third grade level. Sometimes you need to look up definitions. Other than that, it's all the time and research, just finding, compiling the data that really takes up the time and energy to it. So then, and the numbers that I'm presenting at this meeting, these are from Odysee, State Auditor's Office, you know, and just putting the history together in just an orderly fashion so a person can see what I'm seeing in these refinances and how it affects them, you know, in the amount owed and interest. And these numbers are already tabulated. I don't even have to really do that. Even I don't even have to do the math. I just have to, you know, put the numbers in. So I'm just putting them in order by year. So apparently Heckler Carey didn't think I was qualified enough with the ability to do second grade math and third grade reading skills to present this information, apparently. Okay, and so, and the biggest part of this for me when I go out and do these is just teaching and showing people where to find the information and the purpose of the 4 accounts the school has. And this information is all on their handouts that we give out, you know, and this is the big secret they don't want people to know. So, and also, you know, how some of the laws and regulations they're supposed to follow on these bonds are vague or gray areas. So I kind of talk about that, where it appears they're taking advantage of these areas where the bankers and lawyers see an opportunity to take advantage of the communities. And this is all over Missouri with extra interest payments on these loans. And also this gives the school ability to, you know, take profits. And this is all at the taxpayer's expense. So this is the kind of stuff that I kind of cover, what I'm seeing, and I present that data and, you know, where to find it and show them exactly what I'm seeing. So like I said, I'm trying to get through this presentation. Well, this Carrie chick continues to be disruptive and rude and interrupting the presentation, being condescending, and it's not like she just did it once. This was she just kept doing it in different ways. And I knew the play that she was doing, and I knew it was intentional. It was an intentional attempt to kill the messenger. She was either sent there, or maybe she thought she could make a name for herself, you know, at the ballot box. I can only speculate. Like I said, this went on for a bit. Interrupting, being rude, confrontational with me, and many there had their fill of this lady because I couldn't get through my presentation. So John Grady had enough. Yes, he can be aggressive. What he did, he was standing by the wall during the presentation and stepped forward to the outside seat in her row, set his stuff down, but she was about 3 seats in. So he was still at a distance from her and basically let her have it with her attitude and disrespect of me and how offensive she was being. But it really wasn't just me. She was disrespecting, many people in the room, insinuating this is too complicated for uneducated people to understand. And some of the people present there, these are people that went through the school of hard knocks, and they were very successful, and they had to learn things on their own, and it wasn't handed to them. They didn't go to college. So the only thing that's complicated about what I was presenting is it's hard to find, and it's so compartmentalized that people give up searching. So all I'm doing is trying to express to people where to find it and how to read the numbers, so they can be prepared, with the right information when they go to the ballot box. But another thing too is relying on that on the schools for this information, and I'm finding out this is a big mistake, folks. Talk about misleading. I'll give you two quick examples, and it's the superintendent in Owensville and at the one in Herman. The superintendent in Owensville told in a public meeting that they only had $5 million left to pay in their bond debt at the time. But it was actually $12 million that was on the books. Even now, after finally paying the one bond, it's still over $6 million. The superintendent in Herman, in a newspaper article, stated the roof at the high school was going to be $1 million when it fails. So in 2017, that roof at the high school had extensive work done, roof, gutters, insulation, and there's even pictures taken of this work that was done when it was completed. So Mr. Neal, that's the superintendent of Herman, made it sound like they needed the bond approval for roof repairs in the near future. But when Mr. Neal of Herman emailed back, they needed the bond approval for roof repairs. He was accusing me that I was being misleading. I was misleading the community when he replied to cancel the interview with John Grady. So this is a game that they play. It's a game of accusing of others of the very deception or misleading that they're doing. John Grady. So at this meeting, the people that showed up were like the superintendent's husband, relatives of people who were involved with the schools. So you wonder, where were the people that could have answered the questions, that are in charge of this bond? They didn't bother to show up. So while a lot of people were getting more angry, with this woman, including Pat, I guess,
I did.
I understood what I understood what she was doing, and I couldn't stop smiling. I was so tired from a long day, and I certainly wasn't at my best. But the more she talked, the more she just ousted herself. Not only her ignorance, her arrogance, her disrespect, and the entitlement, of her two kids. I'd do anything for my kids. And yes, John was aggressive, but so was she in every way. She kept talking over people, including John. And now they're playing victim because John's aggressive. I mean, just to get Carrie to stop talking, I don't know. John didn't really have a choice but to be more aggressive and raise his voice over hers. So, but I don't think she realized or knew it was being recorded by two separate people, and for audio. So there's two audios of this meeting where people can hear what happened and make their own determination on who is being aggressive first and wouldn't stop being aggressive. I mean, she was starting to act like a triggered 2-year-old. And And Gary Mount High, obviously thinks anyone without a degree shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion or share obtained information and where to source it. And this is one of the candidates for the school board in Owensville. So basically it was a good meeting. Now they know what she thinks of the community, and that she is perfectly okay with people being taxed out of their homes, long as the school gets all the funding it wants or believes it needs. She made it very clear that this bond tax needs to be continued indefinitely, and it's needed, and they need to keep this over 10 million in savings in case of a natural disaster. So she went to college for finances, supposedly, and doesn't realize schools pay insurance for these things. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But don't think Owensville's specialness. You get this in every town, everywhere. The way the schools are these days, this is becoming a serious problem with entitlement. I'm telling you, folks. I mean, they don't care if they lie, cheat, deceive to obtain more funds from the community. It doesn't matter. The cost or suffering it may have on the families or fixed incomes. I've seen it way too many times now, and unfortunately, just like the paper, which John, by the way, can no longer write articles concerning the schools. You cannot have a conversation or be critical in any way or even question the schools. The only thing that is allowed is to speak for schools and bonds. And this goes for some of the platforms as well. This is why people have a hard time getting the word out, or because people are afraid of being attacked, just bringing it into question. I warned John Grady before all this happened. When you question the schools or present the larger scope, part of which is the finances, it can go south real quick. And that you really can't give an opposing view. I also said, I really don't think you know what don't think you know what you're getting into. He was willing to he was willing to be impartial as possible, just showing both sides of the issue. He thought he'd just post a progression of what was being presented on both sides and to make sure both sides were heard. He now knows and has seen and has been personally affected firsthand in this arena. You cannot be critical in any way or share an argument on the other side, especially on bond issues. If you do, they will try to end you in any way they can to stop the conversation. And they'll call you a liar, hater, aggressive, in his case, uneducated, anything they can get away with, shutting down what they can to stop the conversation. And the real, where the real education occurs. And you think about that, that's pretty hypocritical, isn't it? These are people and institutions that the parents are entrusting to educate their children. Okay, my diatribe's done.
Okay, well, I appreciate your assessment on that, Retha. And I was there as well. Gretchen was there. We all saw this happen. And it was, and I've described it as an attack, but it was a verbal attack. It wasn't physical. There was no physical attacking of anyone. There was no swearing, but there was a lot of raising a voice, going on, basically. And I want to point out something else here that I think it's really, really important for people to know about when Retha and I go out and do these meetings and everything. It's important for everyone to know that the superintendent and the board gets invited. However, they never show up. What they do is they send their spouses in their stead. So they bravely sent all their spouses out, to go and see what Retha and I had to say. And their spouses argue as though they're actually the officials. They're speaking, like, for instance, the superintendent's husband spoke as though he was representing the school. So that was kind of interesting too. And it's something I think we should all be aware of that does happen from time to time, is the cowards send their spouses in, as opposed to actually. And this is directly in relation to what they do. What does the school board do? They approve a bond measure that goes on the bond. That's what we're talking about, is the finances involved with it. I'm sorry, Caleb, go ahead.
That has got to be just one of the most cowardice things you could do. I mean, that you could compare that to, what was it, Osama hiding behind his wife.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
well, if you believe that's actually what happened, but the precipice of it, hiding behind his wife.
Yeah.
Well,
Essentially, yes.
Not only that, they approve any budget, they approve teacher hires.
Yep.
Everything goes through them. And so when you have someone like that that's so combative and entitled for their views, that's dangerous, because then you're letting that ideology teach the children that you're stewards over.
Yeah.
I would say that because Carrie is a member of the Missouri State Teachers Association, that the schools are now, or the powers that be that run the schools are now fully aware that they're in the fight of their lives, even in the small rural districts. And so it's going to, I think, get pretty ugly before it gets better, but I think we'll win.
I think so too.
We have to. Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
It's kind of the sociology behind sociopaths. When they get caught, they act frantic, and they'll panic and grab for whatever power they can before they're finally shut down.
Yep, but also they apparently send in their spouses. I'm sorry, Grant. Go ahead, buddy.
I said, or bash over the head the power that's being taken away from them.
Yeah.
Too.
Yep. And Julie A. put in an excellent comment.
Violence.
I'm sorry, Grant. I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead, buddy.
You're okay. I said they resort to violence.
Yep.
That's their nature.
Yep, it is. Especially if you can't articulate your opinion, your argument really well. Basically, violence seems to be some kind of basal mechanism within human beings. If you cannot win an argument, or if you can't articulate your argument well enough, you just get aggressive. Julie A. on YouTube says, "It is always the women with graduate degrees who are the most clueless." That's kind of an interesting statement to make, but that definitely applied to the young lady who was, basically desperately trying to constantly interrupt the presentation. And by the way she would interrupt the presentation is saying, "That's wrong. You're lying." That's it. She didn't provide the other point of view. She would just, it's like popcorn, popping up suddenly. "You're a liar." So. No, we're presenting numbers, sweetheart. Just plain numbers, 4th grade math. And if you have a problem with our math, do the math for us and see if you come up with the same numbers, as opposed to just automatic
she needs to go to Odysee.
Yeah,
she really needs to go to Odysee. Those were Odysee's numbers. That was Odyssee's math.
Yep.
So if it is wrong, well, she better get on the horn to Odysee then, because I didn't even really have to do any math, honestly, on that, because I was just inputting the data that Odysee had on it, and that was it.
Yep.
This is Odyssee's math.
Mm-hmm.
Saying Odyssee's math's wrong.
Yep. So that's kind of our report of what happened, in the Owensville meeting. We did have another meeting this week, but we had nothing like that happen. That went really well. Jody Grace is chiming in. She's saying, "Thanks so much for your help this week, Patrick." And Jody, really, it goes to you and to Catherine Dreyer and to many other people that had us really, I just talked about it at the beginning of this broadcast. We're going to get back into it pretty quick here. Talk about how amazingly successful that the rally was at the Capitol. It was really a sight to see, gang. Getting 400 people to the Capitol for a single event is virtually impossible. Now, you may think,
on Tuesday.
Yeah, on Tuesday. And we did it within 5 days. The start of this project was, when it was an actual announcement, was Thursday. And then, it was Tuesday that it actually happened. So that's how long people had to prepare to get ready to call in sick, if they had to call in sick, if they wanted to be there to support the Freedom Caucus. Or, basically we had a knock and shock scheduled for 3 weeks in advance. We had a lot of people show up for that too. And they, of course, were there for the rally as well. But there's a lot of people that participated in getting this up and running. And Jody Grace, I can't say enough good about. She was heavily involved in that operation. Catherine Dreyer was there from the beginning of it, the etymology of it, along with Kirby Lane. And my goodness, I think Lisa Panette had a lot to do with it as well. And there's lots of names I am forgetting right now, and I just want to apologize for that. But this was truly a grassroots movement. Now, there was a slight misunderstanding at the beginning that the Freedom Caucus had actually set up this rally. Nothing could be further from the truth. No one in the Freedom Caucus ever claimed that. This was literally totally in fact, if you went to this meeting or this rally on Tuesday, it was the who's who of grassroots in the state of Missouri. Everyone was there, everyone. So it really was truly an awesome sight. And once again, it was about showing support for people who are fighting on behalf of us, the people in the state of Missouri, getting our priorities across, the finish line, or starting the process to do so. Because one thing the establishment is really good at is making sure that grassroots priorities never see the light of day. Now, as an example, I'm just going to throw this out here. IP reform, 18 years. 18 years we've been trying to get this done in the state of Missouri. More specifically, if you go back 18 years, that wasn't me. That was Ron Calzone. And what they were trying to do at the time for 18 years was trying to shut down our voices with IP reform. Ron was the one stopping the bad bills for years. And so at any rate, I want everyone to know that. So it was a big group effort, and it was, and by the way, IP is now moving in both the House and the Senate. It was moving in the House before the rally, but after the rally in the Senate is when it gets moving. So, and also the really exciting part about all this, and once again, I'm not going to get too technical. I don't want to bore everyone here, but basically a concurrent majority is now going to come to the floor. Now, as Jody Grace is listening in right now, and as God is my witness. What's that?
I would say, and it's concurrent majority with House districts.
Yep, concurrent majority with House districts. That debate has never been allowed on the Senate floor before, and it's never been on the House floor. Those bills, the best bills for the people, languish in committee. And what's happening now is we're going to have to talk about it on the floor because of the pressure put on by the Freedom Caucus. So I personally, not the Missouri Freedom Initiative, Patrick Holland, I want to personally thank everyone who showed up on Tuesday. That was a big deal. And actually, I think the Freedom Caucus needed to see that too. And once again, this is a thankless battle. I mean, how many of us are picking up the phone and thanking, Bill Eigel and Mike Moon, who is not even in the Freedom Caucus, for actually engaging in these filibuster events, these all-day-long filibuster events. They can't go to the bathroom unless it's tag team. They can't go and get something to eat unless it's tag team. They can't even get something to drink unless it's tag team. And God only knows, standing up and talking for a long time, if you don't get something to drink, you'll lose your voice, and it's a tough thing to do day in and day out for weeks on end. So my thanks to everyone who came to show support for the Freedom Caucus. And of course, my thanks to everyone in the Freedom Caucus for what they do. So that is, and by the way, we could tell more stories about, what was happening there. And I know people are going to bring up the audio quality was terrible. Well, guys, this was set up on the fly. We couldn't get the rotunda. That was the League of Women Voters who want abortion enshrined in the Missouri Constitution. They got there first. They planned their event weeks in advance, and they had about 150 people show up tops. We had 5 days, and we had 400. I think that speaks volumes, especially to the politicians that needed to see what was going on. And by the way, I did see folks, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I did see some folks that we consider opposition come up and see what was going on the second floor, just to see it with their own eyes, and then they would quickly disappear again. They were curious of how many people were showing up to support the Freedom Caucus. I could throw out names, but I'm not going to. And that is the truth. That actually happened. So, okay. So unless anyone else wants to bring up, any specific stories from the Freedom Rally for the Freedom Caucus. We'll talk a little bit about Knock and Shock, but I'll take a break here if someone has a story or anything they want on with the rally that happened. Okay, sounds like everyone's okay with that. Oh, hang on, did I lose everyone? There we go.
5 days of publicity. I can only imagine how many people would have shown up if this was planned out 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And that speaks volumes to this. But not only that, just wherever you land on the political scale or even the religious scale, the fact that people wanted to unify over freedom and liberty, those common causes, is really powerful. And I think for those people that have been filibustering last week to get IP reform, was a really edifying response for the work that they're doing.
I agree.
I think the energy in that area there was just electrifying, and I think it inspired the Freedom Caucus. It was a really wonderful event. I love the Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
Yep. The Lord's
Everybody
Prayer.
saying it in unison.
You bet. And singing the anthem together. There was a lot of beautiful moments that happened there. I agree. And Wilderness Gal wants to say, glad that Sam and Trish were finally able to attend a Knock and Shock event, and they were there for the rally as well. And yes, Sam and Trish Britton from Missouri Liberty Radio joined us for Knock and Shock as well. We'll get into that in a little bit here. But yes, it was an absolutely beautiful rally. It was, and by the way, gang, this was a very uncomfortable spot in the mezzanine to actually have a rally, but it's all we could get on short notice because the rotunda was taken up by the League of Women Voters. And once again, weeks planned in advance, weeks. And so at any rate, despite the fact that they had weeks to plan, they couldn't get 400 people there. So I want to remind folks of that. In Knock and Shock, for instance, I try to give as much heads-up notice as possible to get as many people there as possible. So I understand. Go ahead.
Also, one thing that rally they had down there for the League of Women Voters. I mean, you could look over into the rotunda, and there was, I would say maybe, you're about right, about maybe 150 tops.
I don't think they hit 100. My guess is between 100 and 125, actually. But at the same time, I couldn't see the whole event because I was looking from up above. There might have been people standing around on the outside too. So
there were a few.
Okay.
But it wasn't much. But I swear that woman that was up there chanting in the front of that had to have been one of the most annoying people I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be the whiniest, highest pitch, and she was doing it in front of what it was effectively a bunch of suburban college kids. And half of them had multicolor hair. Like, it was
there was a
obvious
lot
the
of that
crowd
going
that
on.
they were talking to. It was obvious the crowd they were talking to, and it literally anything within Knock and Shock with the first half of the day, I couldn't hear anything.
Yep. It was loud. There's no doubt about it. But you get 400 people in a confined mezzanine like that, it's going to it's going to bounce around and echo and
that was, and the thing is, what did it to the audio quality for the Freedom Caucus rally? You could hear there, but it was because of just the positioning and what you could get. And how it echoes. It only stayed in that one area. If you went to the other side of the mezzanine over top of the
rotunda.
What is it? Yeah, the Missouri Museum that was down below. It was kind of hard to hear. But I mean, work with what you got.
Yep. Katie Ann at Ozark Hollow Homestead is saying that Isaac actually went down there and took a head count, and he's pretty sure it was between 80 and 90 during the rally.
Oh.
So maybe our numbers were a little bit high. We were giving them the benefit of the doubt, but if someone went down there and Isaac counted, I was just eyeballing it and doing an estimate.
I actually counted the chairs.
Yeah.
And there were about 100 chairs there, and then there were people on the sides too. The chairs were never completely filled, although at one point they were pretty full. But
Gotcha. Yep. And did anyone, and Isaac is asking, did anyone see if they were on a chartered bus? Did we get a bunch of people from out of state come in for a rally in the rotunda, with the League of Women Voters? I don't know. I didn't see any buses. That I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't see that either, but then again, it kind of looked orchestrated, like they were all told how to act, because they went up and had lunch on the 3rd floor and had, they all had the same shirts on, they all had the same everything, and they all had their lunches prepared, and they had a schedule with it.
Yep.
It was pretty orchestrated, like almost months of planning worth.
Here, see if you guys can see this.
Isaac just sent me a picture of the League of Women's Voters rally.
Yeah, stick it on the. I actually have a little.
Yeah, Ozark Freedom Gal said a lot of them had union signs and shirts, so they were probably on company time, not burning vacation time like everyone who came to the Freedom Rally.
Yeah, I mean, it was United Auto Workers was there.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yep.
United Auto Workers, and they all had their precious democracy logos all over everything. I think there was some Planned Parenthood there too.
Yep.
When they talk about democracy, they mean socialism.
Sure.
It's completely opposite of what.
And also,
put it in the chat. What you sent me.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm being asked if I have any photos from Knock and Shock posted anywhere. The answer is actually no. And Jill King, that's a very, 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 very appropriate question. And I'm going to let you know that I go into a different mindset when I go up to the Capitol. And when we got a group of folks, I want to keep us organized and keep us moving. And also, too, we have a punch list that we set up when we first meet right before we start Knock and Shock. What is the most important thing to do first? And, of course, that was to get to everyone who is on the committee where HB 1955 is on. So that's where my mind goes, and I shift, and I'm totally focused on the goal. And so I don't take photos or videos or anything, but I think there's a lot of photos within the group. And if they get shared with me, I will find a way to get them on the website. And in fact, we got a great picture of Bill Hardwick holding a Goldback. And so we'll make sure to get that on the website. He's the sponsor of HB 1955. Ozark Freedom Gal says it's a great rally and a productive Knock and Shock. 3 more co-sponsors for HB 1955. And that is absolutely correct. That's part of our goal, is getting co-sponsors. So we did get 3 more in real time on the fly while we're up there. And a lot of that was thanks to Gary Ride, our very own Gary Ride. So he was out there working this, big time as well. We're a great team when we go up there, gang. We're a great team. Sometimes we need to separate because we have 2 missions that are equally important at the same time. And that's exactly what happened with Gary Ride. And Gary Ride, he won some pretty big scores for getting co-sponsors. So thank you, Gary, by the way. Okay, as far as Knock and Shock goes, I think it went really, really well. Now, because of the rally, it's hard to get an actual number for how many people actually showed up for Knock and Shock. But by my count, it was 28. We had 28 folks. So, but that's literally people who came up for the rally as well as Knock and Shock. I did see some people at the rally that have joined us for Knock and Shock before, but they just came up for the rally because that's all the time they had. There are people that would normally join us for an hour or 2, for Knock and Shock, and they chose to use that hour and 2 for the rally, and I support that fully. I have no problem with that because we stopped Knock and Shock to be a part of the rally. So we were there too. So we didn't continue working during that rally. We were right there. So, but at any rate, as far as conversations go, and we're going to get, and I did not send out an email today, and that was for lack of time. But the email will be going out tomorrow with more specific instructions on what we can do to continue furthering HB 1955, the Constitutional Money Act. And we'll get into more of that in a little bit. But so I'm very, very grateful for all the people that showed up for the rally. I can't say that enough, and I need to shut up about it. But this was important, gang. And I know it was short notice, and maybe if we had 2 or 3 weeks, we'd had 1,000 or 1,200 people there. But wait, there's more. My understanding is, talking to some of the grassroots leaders in the state of Missouri here in the last few days, we've got some more rallies coming up for the Freedom Caucus. One of them's coming up real quick. It's on the 12th of March. But I think we have something on the 2nd.
12th of February.
Or 12th of February. I'm sorry, 12th of February. And then maybe it's not the 2nd of March. It might be the 6th of March or something like that. So there's one that's a little bit further out where you can ask for time off, right? So I think it might be a good idea for our group, and I'll ask you guys for your opinion on this too, but I'm just going to throw this out there. How about knock and shock when there's rally days for, the Freedom Caucus? That way, basically, we can kind of coordinate all of our efforts together. So I'm just throwing it out there, and this is not to put pressure on anyone. If you guys think that's not a good idea, feel free to say so. But at any rate, I'm curious about, what you guys think.
I'm personally fine with that. Yeah, and I think for me though too is I'm gonna try to shore up some time at work for that last week of May, because I know a lot of stuff goes on that last week of May.
Yep, agreed. I guess Liberty just put up some video, I guess, in Gilded here. We'll play that here in just a little bit. So is that from the Knock and Shock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Standing outside of one of the offices.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, we'll play that for you guys in just a little bit. There's plenty of video and pictures from the rally that ended up on Twitter. I don't know about Facebook because I've not been going on Facebook very much. By the way, we are no longer transmitting on Facebook. It's too difficult. They give me too many problems and all that fun stuff. So we're transmitting on 4 platforms simultaneously. We're on Twitter right now, and all you have to do is go to the Missouri Freedom Initiative or at Missouri Libert 2. Because I didn't get actually Missouri Liberty, for the handle name. So not only that, the videos are showing up everywhere as well. So if you guys missed the rally, there's plenty of video circulating everywhere about this rally. And once again, I'm going to say this one more time, and then I'm going to drop it. Getting 400 people on short notice like that was a miracle. It was a miracle. It really, truly was. I mean, getting Missouri Right to Life has problems getting that many people up there with 3 weeks' notice. And they're the biggest grassroots organization in the state of Missouri. In fact, some people would argue they're not grassroots, and I get that, but you know what I mean. So
it shows people are fed up.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So
I'm fed up. I'm just fed up with all the antics that these corporatist Republicans are doing.
Yep.
It's sickening, and they have no right to be in the positions that they're in.
Yep. Okay, and someone's asking a question, which I will answer. I'm going to read through the comments here in just a bit here. Is there a way to overturn the ballot measure if, God forbid, it passes? Now, that's from Show Me the Truth 1611. Now, Show Me the Truth 1611, actually, that's a kind of a complicated question. Overturn a ballot measure, if it's voted in by the people will have to vote in a measure to remove the previous measure. That's how it's done. Mm-hmm. So any way you slice it, when something gets in the Constitution, it is really, it's difficult to get it in. Okay, let's put that out there first. Just so you guys know, basically by law of comparison, it's difficult to get something in the Constitution, but it's really difficult to get it out again. And remember, for what's going on in Missouri right now, there's a lot of out-of-state money flowing into Missouri right now for abortion ballot initiatives. And this is not hyperbole. This is fact. There's a lot of money flowing in, millions and millions of dollars, and that money is going to pay people to collect signatures. That's where the money's going. So just so you guys know, that's what we're up against. And
I was accosted in a parking lot to sign.
oh, you were approached?
I was.
Oh, wow.
I was.
And did
yeah,
you?
I got into an animated conversation and she quickly left.
Okay, gotcha. I'm curious now. I've got to ask, what did the petition say? Was it for abortion up to 9 months? Was it 4 months?
No, I didn't even look at it.
Okay.
The minute she started up, so I didn't see any of that. Except I did see she had about 4 signatures, but the page was a mile long and she only had like 4 signatures. I don't know how long she'd been at it, but so she didn't get anywhere. She was happy to leave my presence.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
I was going to throw out there another thing too when it comes to, like, let's say something like that, it wound up in our Constitution. Keep in mind too, at the worst case scenario, if that got in there, same with other issues they're trying to push right now. The key thing about having a concurrent majority is that the land space is, recognized. The actual, it's balanced between the population and the land space. So with concurrent majority ratification, even if something like that got in there, something else could be pushed through the General Assembly the next year, and then you could effectively remove it with the red counties, saying no. One of the things about concurrent majority is the fact that it lets the things that have been messed up and thrown into our Constitution be corrected as well.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I think, based on everything that we had seen, I think right now it's more important than ever to actually make sure that we try our very best to keep House districts in the Senate. Okay. I'll get into that just a bit because, like I said, I don't want to talk so much about a lot of the technicals, but this is what we as a state should be supporting. And there is a rumor going around that there is some kind of going to be a committee substitute switcheroo by Mary Elizabeth Coleman that would be going to congressional districts rather than House districts. I don't know if that's true or not. I certainly haven't talked to the senator, but I do think it's important that everyone, and by the way, this will be in my email tomorrow when I send it out. If you believe that House districts are better, and by the way, some people think congressional districts are better, and I don't want to take that away from them. I'd be very happy to debate that with them, why House districts are actually technically roughly 3% better. 3%, by the way, is what you get better for going with House districts versus congressional. But emailing or calling Mary Elizabeth Coleman's office to say, please make sure this stays House districts would be actually really important. Calling your senator plus calling Mary Elizabeth Coleman, because she is the handler for the bill in the Senate. So, and I believe Ron Calzone wrote an email about this too. If you're on Ron Calzone's email list, you would have gotten an email today talking about this very thing that I just mentioned right now. If you're not on Ron Calzone's email list, why not get on it? Actually, I send out more emails than Ron does. But that's, again, we're a very active group. And Ron is too, but the structure of his organization is very different. So if you're not on Ron's email list, you can do so by going to his website. It's right down in the description section as one of our partners. That's mofirst.org, MOFIRST, FIRST.org. And you can get right on his email list. And he is carrying all the critical data for everything that's happening in real time for IP reform. We're not, and by the way, we're very much into IP reform, but our primary goal, if you will, is gold and silver legislation. So we apply more emphasis to that than we do IP reform. And that's why you have different grassroots organizations out there in Missouri. For instance, you go to Jennifer Barker for health-related stuff in the state of Missouri. Education seems to be more on the Jody Gray side. Silver and gold seems to be on the Missouri Freedom Initiative side. And we can go through all the grassroots leaders in the state of Missouri and assign, I'm kind of assigning, and I shouldn't be, because I know Jody Grace cares about a lot more things than just education, but she has really taken on, a lot of that education stuff, basically informing the populace what's going on in the legislature and the bills that are flowing through. And, right now they're greasing the skids for a bill that we got to take a real close look at on education, because it looks like it's not no strings attached vouchers, which is something the Missouri Freedom Initiative has always supported in the past. So in lieu of all this, the activity level up in Jefferson City, be it knock and shock, be it a rally, is downright impressive. And I can guarantee you one thing: while certain politicians' hearts sing when they see that many people show up at the Capitol, believe me, there are others that are cowering in their offices. They don't want to talk to these folks. They don't want them coming to their office. They don't want pressure. But they're on the opposite side of the, I don't want to say the political spectrum, but the opposite side of the issues that the Freedom Caucus are fighting for. And these are some of the folks that I saw come up and actually peek and see what was going on the second floor. It was kind of amazing. It's kind of like that old show, Tool Time, the neighbor that was peeking over the fence all the time. That's kind of what it looked like to me. They weren't coming all the way up the stairs. They were just partly up the stairs, just kind of peeking, just kind of looking around, seeing how many people were there, and then going back down the stairs. So that was actually really great for me to see. But the knock and shock operation, once again, I'll say, was actually somewhat targeted in the morning, and then it was more broad in the afternoon, and then we split and went to two or three different groups going around. Gary Ride, of course, was leading one of them. And so at any rate, I just want to tell you guys, I am very thankful for all of you who come up and participate in this process and actually try to get good things done through the state of Missouri, because it is difficult to get good things done. It's really sickening to me how quickly and easily bad things get done in the state of Missouri, and how much effort has to go into the good things. It's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gretchen, tell me again, 5x5. I'm not even really sure, Gretchen, what 5x5. That's what everyone says. Basically, if they respond 5x5, that means they heard you, and that means your audio is working. So that's, I used to think it was some sort of military thing, because I've seen it in movies with military when, you have a couple of special operators, clandestinely working, and they'll, 5x5, they'll say into the walkie-talkie sometimes or whatever. So I thought of it that way, but I have no idea where it came from.
I'd never heard that in the military.
Okay. It's
She says she's seeing it on Ron's site. No, that's just a security question to make sure.
It's fine.
On there, it's a security question for that purpose.
Okay.
It's a basic. His website's old style, kind of basic HTML. So yeah. So there's not really the what do you call it? That what's that security thing that they do? What is it?
To see if you're real, you're not a real.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's challenging you. There you go.
Yeah. The old way of doing it is that versus what they do now with not a bot thing. Check the box and not. That won't really work on HTML well.
Hey, Guitar Authority reports that they didn't like to stand either at the rally in the Rotunda. They were rather laid back in their chairs. So, yep, they got the comfort zone. And the Patriots in Missouri, they didn't come there for comfort or convenience. They came there to send a message to the leadership in the Senate and the leadership in the House. We want our state back. And you know what? It's better to have a rally on your feet than it is in a chair anyway. So actually that worked out really well in the end. But once again, a special shout out to every single grassroots leader who is watching this or will watch it in the future. Thank you so much for participating in that. Thank you so much for getting folks out there for that. And I suspect these freedom rallies are going to get bigger. That's what I suspect. That's what I think is going on right now. And what Caleb said earlier is actually very appropriate. Missourians are getting fed up. They've had enough. And some people have actually.
Grant said that.
What's that?
Grant said that.
Okay, Grant. I'm sorry. I get you guys mixed up. You look exactly alike. I'm teasing.
Hey, I still have hair.
Yeah,
Patrick, can I say something?
Sure. Go ahead, Grant.
I think something that you hinted at that should be just highlighted more is that Mary Elizabeth Coleman is holding the joint resolution bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she can't really be trusted. No. People that are listening to this, please really keep the pressure on her because, she has a lot at stake. She's running for Congress right now. Her and how she handles this bill is going to be very telltale of what she's going to do in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind.
I think it's she, Bob Onder, and one other going to run for the same seat.
Yes.
Yep. And that's a good point.
Greitens.
Oh, Greitens. He's trying to run for that
seat.
Greitens.
He runs for anything that's available, actually. So
we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but those who know is what she did with sales tax on groceries last year.
That's right.
And just completely blindsiding us.
Switcheroo half an hour before the hearing. Grant, thank you for bringing that up.
And that's just unacceptable and cowardice in any sense, especially when she had enough people to defend her argument for the legislation to begin with.
That's right. Let me set that up because actually what I forgot about that. Thank you, Grant. So last year, as those of you who know the Missouri Freedom Initiative in 2022 and 2023, we took on the bills that basically were talking about the complete elimination of sales tax on food, just on food. That's it. Because we believe in the Missouri Freedom Initiative, that's an immoral tax. If you have to give up a lump of flesh to the government every time you have to eat to survive. So, and most states don't have it, by the way. We're one of the unfortunate states that has sales tax on food. So, Mary Elizabeth Coleman carried one in 2023, and we supported it. It was a great bill. And we showed up in fact, she was notified in advance that the Missouri Freedom Initiative, many of us were coming up to testify on behalf of her bill in a Senate hearing. And I do believe it was 9 people. There was more than that showed up, but I think 9 people testified from the Missouri Freedom Initiative for her bill. But what happened was half an hour before the hearing, her chief of staff informed us that there was a committee substitute that she was giving. Now, she knew we were going up there literally on a Thursday. We were there on a Tuesday. So if she had any notion of doing that from Thursday, she certainly didn't tell us. The people that were going up to support her bill, to have 8 people that are not paid in any way, shape, or form to drive all the way to Jefferson City to testify on behalf of a bill is virtually unheard of. Guys, just like getting 400 people up to the Capitol on short notice, that's kind of unheard of. So is getting 8 people that are not paid people on short notice. Once again, Thursday is when it was assigned to committee. The following Tuesday was the hearing. 5 days. So getting that many people up there unpaid to actually, once again, no one's paid. No one gets their lunch paid. No one gets gas money. No one's paid while they're there. That's the way we operate. And she pulled that switcheroo. But what we did is we testified on behalf of the old bill, not the committee substitute. So that's kind of how we handled it in that hearing. But Mary Elizabeth Coleman actually did provide a committee substitute, didn't inform the people that were driving all the way up to Jefferson City to actually testify on behalf of her bill when she had already planned a substitute. And that substitute was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. So what Grant said is correct. Mary Elizabeth Coleman kind of pulled a fast one on the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Now, does that mean that we're all supposed to hate her? No, but it is a reason to reserve trust. So, so what she is carrying, what many people would regard the most important legislation of 2024 in her hot little hands right now in the Senate. And that's IP reform with House districts. So can we, trust that it's going to go forward without a substitute? We don't know. We have to put pressure. And that I will talk more about that in the email everyone gets tomorrow, and with specific instructions on what you can do to help make sure that we can try to continue to keep house districts. Now, I want to say one more thing, and I'm going to stop talking for a little while, let you guys talk. If we do not get house districts and it becomes congressional districts, it is not the end of the world. It is not. It is way better than what we have now, but it's not the best. It's not the best it could be. And we have an opportunity right now to get the best. Remember what I said at the beginning of this live stream? 3 years. Concurrent majority has been an idea for 3 years. I know the man who came up with the idea, by the way. 3 years. We have tried to get that on the floor for debate and discussion. And for 3 years, and I can point fingers, and, you know, I don't think it's necessary, but the leadership in the House and in the Senate for 3 years refused to let the concurrent majority idea go on the floor to be heard. And Ron Calzone so rightly put out an email about this, and is still on his website to this day, that it turns out that the Missouri Realtors Association are the ones filling everyone's pack, with cash that's in leadership in the state of Missouri to disallow that from going on the floor. This is corporatism. This is fascism. Mary Elizabeth Coleman, please do not engage in any fascism here. I need to call up Catherine and find out if she got money in her Washington, D.C. PAC from the Missouri Realtors Association. If we knew the answer to that right now, we might have the answer to Grant's question, whether or not she could be trusted, just by looking at her PAC. And once again, I'm not trying to be too clever here, but I am very suspicious now of anyone who's getting money from the Realtors Association, because we have seen the evidence of this with Dean Plocker and with Caleb Rowden. We've seen this. It's indisputable. And so at any rate, okay, I'm getting off my soapbox.
It's really interesting, Patrick, and I need to do some digging, because I thought I saw an article last week that or a tweet that addressed this, but apparently why the Realtors Association is so anti IP reform is they're terrified that their legislations won't get pushed through with the changes. Yet that's not necessarily true.
That's correct.
And for some reason, no one's communicating this to them. And not only that, they're not choosing to listen to anyone about it either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep, that's it.
It's really weird.
Yep. And I saw that same thing too. In fact, Ron Calzone wrote in an open letter that both initiative petitions that they have sent through the system and were accepted would have been accepted under concurrent majority as well. So unless they're being infiltrated in the last 3 years by people that are sympathetic to socialism, fascism, or communism, I don't think they would have to worry, but maybe they've been infiltrated. Basically the Missouri Realtors Association, the way and going to ESG. I mean, guys, I don't mean to be too dramatic about this. Infiltration by communism basically is your company is falling, for that ESG bull crap that is actually failing financially right now. All investments in ESG have gone down. If anyone's invested in ESG, I feel for you. You've lost a lot of money. It's because you invested in a bad idea. And so please don't blame others. That was your fault for investing in ESG in the first place. But I wonder if the Missouri Realtors Association is invested in or somehow related to ESG, environmental social governance. And therefore, they may not be in control anymore. And what I mean by that is they get points for shutting down operations like this and their ESG score.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be part of what it's about. If you do what Klaus Schwab wants, you get, friendship points, or coolness points. When my daughter was growing up, if I did something really neat for my daughter, she would award me something non-tangible called coolness points. And what I noticed, it's somewhat like the legislature. Because when she would anoint me with these coolness points, it was always a very low amount for something I thought was really cool that I did for her. You get 10 coolness points, Dad. Good job. Thank you. But if I did something she didn't like, she would literally say, I have just subtracted 1,000 coolness points. And the fact is, I'd only have banked maybe 100 coolness points. So I was actually in the whole 900 coolness points with my daughter. And that's what it kind of feels like sometimes dealing with the legislature. I'm sorry, I just thought I'd throw that in there for a grin.
That is funny, though.
So, okay. So IP reform is coming up, gang. It's this week. And it's not like we're asking anyone to go to the Capitol. There's really no need unless you want to be in the gallery while they're discussing it, which would be cool and historic. But you can listen to the live audio feed right from the Senate website. And I will do my very best to link people up through my email tomorrow. To if you've never listened to the Senate live, it's actually really easy to do it, but you need to know how that first time. And so I will provide those links as to the best of my ability so you guys can hear this stuff going on in real time. And I am very curious if there's a substitute waiting in the wings to go immediately right back to congressional districts, which is what Caleb Rowden and apparently Dean Plocher want. I'm sorry, not Caleb Rowden. No, Caleb Rowden wants it. I'm not sure Dean Plocher wants it. I'm not going to assign that to Dean Plocher. I do know that Jonathan Patterson, the floor leader, doesn't want any IP reform happening. None. Keep it the way it is, which is the position of the Democrats as well, by the way. I want you guys to know that. So we do have a battle coming up this week. It's not silver and gold, and we're getting there in a second, gang. But it is IP reform, which is an extremely hot topic this year. This is why the Freedom Caucus has been literally holding up government appointees, was to make sure the concurrent majority got on the floor. You know, they throw all the other garbage IP reform bills on the floor, but concurrent majority has never been allowed until now. The Freedom Caucus won. It worked. So at any rate, a big shout out to everyone in the Freedom Caucus for all their hard work, all the filibustering they did, literally so we could finally get the best solution on the floor for debate and perfection. And Mary Elizabeth Coleman, I ask you from the bottom of my heart, please do not pull a switcheroo on us. Please don't do that. And quite frankly, I think it'll hurt your chances for District 3 if you do. Those who are informed on the IP initiative process know that concurrent majority with House districts is the best solution for the state of Missouri. If you're uninformed, most of the uninformed actually think either leave it alone or go to congressional districts or do a 60%, a 57%, a 53%, nonsense like that. We've seen all that crap go through in the last 3 years in the General Assembly. Now we get to see the real deal, gang, finally, because of the Freedom Caucus literally standing up to leadership on this. Okay, I'm going to shut up on IP reform unless anyone has any questions or comments. Oh, Misty Atkinson just provided a link, and this would be in YouTube. So I will go ahead and get that link going, and I will provide that link to you on Rumble and on Odysee. I keep forgetting about Twitter. I don't even know if anyone's watching us on Twitter. Let's take a gander, shall we? 3 viewers on Twitter right now. Thank you very much, Twitter viewers. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to avoid you guys or anything. I just don't think about looking at Twitter very much when we're doing the live streams. So thank you very much for being with us tonight. And if you have any questions, of course, throw them in the comment section. Let us know if you have any questions, any comments, or anything else like that. And if you're from Jess Piper's crowd, please don't comment at all. Okay. All right, so it's in there for Rumble, and the last one is Odysee. Okay, so you guys will all have the link right now that you can use next week. And Misty, could you let me know when the debate, perfection and debate process starts for IP in the Senate? I believe that is on Monday. Let's see, Gabby L. Heard Patrick today on Canary Cry News Talk Rumble. Let's see. He couldn't even be named on YouTube. That's another funny story. Yes, I did do a video with the Canary Cry folks. They graciously invited me back and put up with me for nearly another 2 hours again. And guys, I'm just throwing this out here. I don't want this to be a topic of conversation. We're heavily censored on YouTube. Okay. I'm not here to complain or whine about it or anything. It's just, it is what it is. They don't like me. They don't like constitutional nerds. People that talk about state legislation apparently are a threat to the people on YouTube because we get so heavily shadow banned and they reduce our view counts. Here's what happened earlier today. On Canary Cry, they had some 466 views on YouTube when I went to the video. And then I went and did a refresh, and it was 402. So I said, well, that can't be right. So I check it in another browser, Mozilla, and indeed it was 402. They had scraped away over 60 view counts from the video that I had done with them just today. And that's exactly what they do to us, and the same way they do it too. They just scoop out huge amounts of view counts. And then if you're monetized, that really hurts you because those view counts equal watch hours, and those watch hours are critical for being monetized. We are not monetized. I'm not sure about the Canary Cry folks, though. So thank you for mentioning that, by the way, Gabby. I appreciate that. And I will have that link up in my email tomorrow. That was a really good visit with Basil. With Gons was not with for that one again, but I've been told the next time I come back, Gons will be available. So that'll be fun. I'd really like to talk to him. The Canary Cry folks, nice. By the way, one more thing. This is the CD that Sam gave to me, and Sam is the guitar player for Slave to Servant. I met him on Sunday. So he actually came to the Prepared Homestead meeting. He was in Missouri for a gig that he was playing at Osage Beach, and so decided to stay for the Prepared Homestead meeting before he traveled to his home state. And so at any rate, so I got to meet him, and that was really cool. He had seen me on Canary Cry before, and he gave me a copy of this CD because Gons actually plays guitar on several of these tracks. So I was interested. And what you guys heard tonight was track number 6, Baptized in Credit. And so that was a song that I played tonight. So once again, Slave to Servant is very well connected with the Canary Cry folks, and they're a Christian rock band. So that's what they do. So, okay, enough about that. I didn't want to go on about that for too long. But Guitar Authority just provided a link to the video, by the way, on the YouTube side. If you guys want to go see it tonight before I send out an email. But it's the Canary Cry News Talk. Quick search on YouTube and Rumble. Oh, let me finish my story. So what happened was, although I got among the lowest views they had ever had before on a video on YouTube for the last video I did, not this one, but the last one, what they did get was one of the highest view counts they'd ever gotten before for any of their Rumble videos, over 5,000 views on Rumble. And they average, probably about 2,500. So we doubled their average on Rumble. Where on YouTube, I had half of the normal expected view count for an average video that comes out from the Canary Cry folks. This is censorship. This is shadow banning. And guess what? They don't go after the guy who's threatening to shoot up the school on social media. They come after guys like me that say you should be active in your state and watch your state legislation and be active with your state politics to stop Klaus Schwab from taking over your state. And apparently I'm the threat, not the guy who's threatening to shoot up the school, for the last 2 months on Facebook. He gets to keep his account until about 3 hours after he's dead. And that's when they shut down his account because they're hoping copycats watch. But they don't want copycats watching the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Trust me. So YouTube punishes us. So once again, YouTube, I'm not real appreciative of what you guys do to me, but thanks for at least not shutting us down, I guess. Thanks for,
Patrick, there's a word for that you taught me a few years ago.
What's that?
Democide.
I'm sorry. Oh, democide. Yes.
You just described democide.
Yep, that's right. So
because those people that want to shoot up places are people that are pawns for the government.
That's right.
Yep. Oh, and you know why they immediately shut down their accounts, right? Even
Yep.
some right after that, it's because they don't want people to dig through there and find out there's been some agents that have been trying to push a kid in that direction.
Sure. You bet. So the censorship is thick. Canary Cry experiences it too. By the way, Canary Cry, if you look at their Rumble channel, you look at their YouTube channel, you go, oh, they just have 7,000, subscribers. They're not a big deal. Guys, they're a huge deal because they're podcasters and they have 500,000 downloads per episode on the podcast. So that's on the audio side. The video side is just kind of a treat. It kind of sells their podcasts. So they're a big outfit, huge following. And so going on their show is an honor for us, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, to be able to spread the word of freedom and talk about what it means to actually be free in a state and how we have taken our attention away from the federal circus and we're applying it actually to the Missouri circus instead. So which is a wise movement because, I mean, and we've talked a lot. By the way, I have been asked by a couple of people if Isaac was coming back for updates or to talk. The answer to that is yes, but not yet. He's coming up with more data and actually some stuff that's going to blow your socks off, actually. But he's not ready to present his data. And I want to say one more thing, too. Isaac is working with other people, too. Not only people to help him, and these are very, very good people helping him research, but he's also making sure that specific people within the body politic in the state of Missouri are getting this data, this analysis. So it's not like he's writing a book and he's keeping it all to himself. He is sharing this as he goes, which is the wise thing to do. And once again, hats off to Isaac. Guitar Authority, by the way, is Isaac on YouTube, if you guys are seeing Guitar Authority. So hats off to Guitar Authority. And by the way, Guitar Authority, and I need to do this for others too, is a business. And Isaac happens to own the business. And we advertise Guitar Authority on the Missouri Freedom Initiative website. I want everyone to know there is no payment in front of Isaac right now. There is no payment for us to do so. Anyone who wants to participate in knock and shock operations with the Missouri Freedom Initiative will get their business advertised on our website as well. Isaac is just the first recipient. So, but also I will say I use their guitar strings. But I, once again, we're not getting paid for doing this. So I pay for guitar strings from Isaac just like anyone else does. But I really appreciate the fact that Isaac cares enough about his state and what's going on in his state to participate in the process. And the amount of time he's putting into research right now, holy mackerel, the amount of time he's putting into research right now. Hats off to you, buddy. Thank you for everything you're doing for the state of Missouri.
Here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can he make flat wrapped violin strings?
That's for Guitar Authority to answer. Guitar, if you heard that,
I need to ask him.
Flat wrapped. I don't think he does flat wrapped anything right now. But he's not doing violin strings. But flat wrapped maybe in the future because that is some people prefer that for I believe it's jazz likes flat wrap strings when you're playing jazz on an electric guitar. So, and Gabby is saying hello to Isaac as well. Okay, guys, and I'm sorry. I know I get long-winded on some of this stuff. Isaac says he cannot, by the way. He cannot make them.
Patrick, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
You talk about gold and silver?
Yes. Yep, that's exactly what I was going to next. Okay, so we've been, I don't want to use the word distracted, but we've had other things going on in the past 2 weeks. So we've not been really into the gold and silver push really hard in the last 2 weeks. That is about to change starting with the email tomorrow. We're going back into full silver and gold mode because we have got to start getting activity in the committee that we find ourselves in, which is financial institutions in the House of Representatives. We have a plan to go forward. We're working on that, but it starts with Twitter. And believe it or not, we're going to do a Twitter campaign for Mike O'Donnell, who is the chair of that committee in the House. And we're going to be tagging him, and we're going to get as many people as possible to do this with us. Let's make sure that he's getting a shout out. Thank you very much for taking gold and silver into your committee. Now it's time to schedule a hearing for that bill. And but we're also going to do a phone and an email campaign as well. And we're hoping within a week we will get a response from all this. So I've been in communication with Representative Hardwick, who is the sponsor for HB 1955. He likes the plan very much. And he's doing everything he can do on the inside to try and get some pressure built up on that committee. And that's part of what we did for Knock and Shock too, by the way, gang. But pressure on that committee to pressure the chairman. He's already talked to the chairman of the committee 2 times. So to continue to go to him every day doesn't necessarily make sense. Pressure is what wins the day on these things. And if we should fail, then we need to actually start the process of getting it removed from that committee and put in another. So it did go into financial institutions. It did not go into Doug Ritchie's committee, which it was last year, which is the Special Government Committee on Accountability or something like that. So he's not getting anything in that committee right now. So he's got a squabble going on with Dean Plocker doesn't like him too much. I understand that they're becoming friends again, though. It is what it is, gang. We have to start putting on the pressure again, and we have to do it en masse. So I will be sending out information tomorrow, specific. It's better that it actually hand out on the email, but I'm also going to tell everyone what they can do for IP reform in regards to Mary Elizabeth Coleman. So those are the two main issues. But here's the thing. We've got IP reform going, which was selected by the group, which is an SJR 61. And tomorrow I'll be starting to include Defend the Guard. Now we're easing into all of the bills that we had selected as a group, not doing it all at once because we needed to get as much energy and momentum behind gold and silver as humanly possible. IP reform is moving now, so we can actually add Defend the Guard now. That starts for us tomorrow. So we're going to be asking for co-sponsors on that bill. And so at any rate, just to let you know, that's coming now too. Additional reasons to email and make phone calls, Defend the Guard, which is a group decision to carry that bill. And we have two others, but we're not going to incorporate them just yet. Guys, we really need to put as much energy as possible into silver and gold. IP reform is moving, and a quick phone call from everyone to an email to Mary Elizabeth Coleman will be helpful. And now it's time to get Defend the Guard moving. So we still got plenty of time. So we just need to make sure that some activity is happening for Defend the Guard rather than just co-sponsors. We also want to see some committee activity going on with that as well. And then we'll move in. And once we got some movement on that, we'll incorporate another one. So once again, because I've been asked, why aren't we doing all 5 bills at once like we did last year? Well, that's because silver and gold probably needs more of our energy than anything else right now. And going into the committee that it's in, prove my point on that. Silver and gold needs more attention. So does anyone have any thoughts on that? Basically, if you're not on Twitter, that's fine. I'm not like asking everyone in the Missouri Freedom Initiative to go get a Twitter account just because we're starting a campaign on there for O'Donnell, who is the committee chair. But if you are on Twitter, help us out, please. I mean, actually go ahead and tag him, with a message, thank you very much for carrying the bill, and it's time for a hearing. So basically, I would really like to see a hearing on this bill, silver and gold. That's pretty much what we're doing. It's going to be a nice, campaign, smothered in honey. We're not throwing any vinegar in. We don't have a need to throw vinegar in at this point. Let's see how he responds to a week of phone calls, emails, and a Twitter campaign before we throw on any vinegar. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Thoughts?
Patrick, I just a couple things with Defend the Guard. I think the biggest thing is this is a bill that hasn't really made it far before in the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was filed last year and it didn't even get assigned to a committee.
Mm-hmm.
So just in regards to baby steps, because this is kind of how a lot of other Defend the Guard legislation has done nationwide, is even just gaining a committee assignment this year would be a huge win.
Yep.
And I think that's, I think one of the things, if we were to be strategic about that, is just calling Plocker's office.
Yep.
And just putting the pressure on him to assign it to a committee, because he can do a lot more from there. There's actually resources available to us if that happens.
Mm-hmm. Through the 10th Amendment Center and other places. The
10th Amendment Center. Also, there's Bring Our Troops Home, which they are kind of the nationwide backing for Defend the Guard legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, we can have people come and testify why this is a really important bill. So it just makes it gives it more publicity. And it continues building out that momentum. So really just getting it in a committee is probably a huge win just for 2024 in and of itself, because
I agree.
Anything more than that is going to be gravy.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. I think we should set our sights on actually getting it on the calendar. I think we should go all the way there. We need to have a committee hearing on this. And so, pardon me. I'm sorry, gang. I need to get some water here. Other states are pushing this through this year. They're working really hard on Defend the Guard. And if you're paying attention to the federal news, which I am not, I have a lot of people that pay attention to the federal news and send me texts, though. Apparently, there is a possibility that National Guard troops may be called up because it looks like we may be getting into yet another war here pretty quick.
Yep, they're looking to push for more war in the Middle East over some Iranian militias.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing too, to just paint a picture as well, is there's other ways that you can go about this, but really Defend the Guard is very important. An example that I read earlier this week too is like, Ron DeSantis in Florida, he made a legislation for a Florida state guard that only he has control over, but he has never pushed for or advocated for furthering of a Defend the Guard legislation. So it's kind of like it's a very milquetoast move that he knows this is going on, but he's only done a half measure to fix the problem.
Okay.
And we don't want that in Missouri.
Nope.
Like we need to protect our men and women that have chosen to serve this state and to protect it, but also not to violate the Constitution as well.
Yeah, and also we need them here protecting the state.
Yep.
We don't need them in Iraq or Iran or Syria or anywhere in those hotbed situations. We have hired them and we pay them to defend us right here in Missouri. So
it's already bad enough that the feds want to unilaterally create war, in other countries in the world without any kind of constitutional declaration of war.
Correct.
Of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
No, being over there and planting yourself in place, and then you get the obvious response and calling that an excuse to change the circumstances from peace to war is not a constitutional thing.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
It's time to deprive the feds of as much as possible.
Yep. And I want to say Ozark's Freedom Gal had a very nice statement, and thank you very much for this. She said it was a great Canary Cry episode. And if that's true, it's because Baz led me down the right path, because I'm somewhat discombobulated and go on tangents when I talk quite a bit. But those guys are just great, and I really appreciate them. And, of course, Isaac was the connection. Isaac is the one who actually led me to them. So I knew about Gons, but I knew him as Face Like the Sun. Once again, he has a tremendous, really good set of documentaries he has made. And those are, basically, that's the claim to fame for Gons. And I've talked about him before. And in fact, you know what? I think I've put him out in emails before. I don't want to go on and on about, Face Like the Sun and also the videos that Gons had produced under that name. But the fact of the matter is the exposure that the Missouri Freedom Initiative is getting nationwide is humbling. It's absolutely humbling. And it reminds me every single day that we need to do the very best we can do for the state of Missouri, because a lot of people are watching to see if we are successful or not this year, this legislative season, before they decide if they're going to start up their own groups or actually get involved in their own state. A lot of them are naysayers saying, you're barking up the wrong tree, you're wasting your time. That's not true, gang. SEPA is a great example of this. And a lot of people pulled together to make sure that SEPA got across the finish line in the state of Missouri. And that would never have happened without grassroots. Never, ever in the state of Missouri. Go ahead.
You can get started on the real local level. Go to a school board meeting, go to your county commission, go to your city council meetings, go to your health board meetings. I mean, just pick one and begin to go and learn, and you can really make a difference.
Yep, that's a really, really good point, and something that is not lost on the Missouri Freedom Initiative. I would like to give a shout out to Retha, but also to Voodoo Queen. We have a lot of fine folks within this organization that are making a big difference on the local level. And Voodoo Queen does all kinds of things on the local level. I'm not going to go into them right now, but she does all kinds of stuff to make sure that her community is better and has more liberty and more freedom, and that the really good people in her community are getting help whenever they need it. And thank you for doing that for your community, Voodoo Queen. And it's not necessarily all about schools, gang. You know, there's all kinds of local government and, you know, that you can help out even with your local VA. So, you know, veterans hospitals or things of that nature, volunteer there. But our group is
Lord
really...
knows they need a...
Go ahead.
Lord knows they need a lot of help over there, considering how well they're...
Well, they say the saying is, Caleb, that when you join the military, you can give your life twice. Once on the battlefield and once in the VA hospital.
I got someone in the house right now that would agree with that in a heartbeat.
Yep. And
that's why I don't go to the VA.
Yep. So that's probably a good point, but at any rate, there's lots of different ways of helping out your local community. Gretchen is right. Now, getting involved in legislation and actually shepherding legislation through the system or killing legislation may not be your cup of tea when you're just getting started in your state doing something like the Missouri Freedom Initiative is doing. If that's the case, it's really easy to get involved in what your local school is doing. You know, what your mayor is doing, what the city is doing, what your county commissioners are doing. But the thing is, gang, is I would highly encourage you, if you're in another state, to be looking at your state legislation, because as Isaac showed us in a beautiful presentation last week, Klaus Schwab is getting into your state, and he's doing it through legislation. And by the way, it's not him directly, it's indirectly through all of his friends and his buddies. You know, basically people slicing up all the resources of this country finer in between themselves every single day through your state legislature. So that's the point. That's where Isaac's research is just critical, absolutely critical. And it's his research, just from our podcast alone, has received a lot of attention from the legislators or the legislators. They're interested. They want to know more. And other grassroots are working with Isaac to help him with his research because he's only one man. So although we're thinking about cloning him, so that way we can get 2 times the amount of work out of Isaac. I'm teasing you, Isaac. That was a joke. I'm a pro-life guy. I would never clone you. But at any rate, you get my point. When you find good people like that, help them. It may be that you're not good at speaking, or you're not good at looking at legislation. Help someone who is. Ask them what you can do to help. A grassroots leader in your state. What can I do to help? And it may be getting that guy that has no ride to the Capitol, but he's got a great voice and he argues really, really well with politicians. I'm sorry, debates is a better word. And he needs a ride to the Capitol. That may be the way you help out. There's lots of ways to help out, gang. But I want to say how much, and just take this opportunity right now to tell everyone in the Missouri Freedom Initiative how much I appreciate you guys and how much I love you guys. Not only for what you do for the state of Missouri, but the fact that you do it on your own time and your own dime. There's no payment. Thank you. So at any rate, that is not lost on me. And I'm reminded of that every day because of the organizations that we're often opposed to, where they're being paid. They're being paid to go to the Capitol. They get their gas money paid. They get a per diem for lunch. That is not us. We have to sacrifice to go up to the Capitol to fight for liberty and for freedom. And the bad people, I'm sorry, some people we're opposed to get it all paid for. And it doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right, but it's just the way it is. So that's why you appreciate the folks that actually fight on their own time and their own dime that much more. And you know it's from the heart at that point. People get paid. Shoot. You know, it's a job. I want to say something that I've not said publicly before, but I did say it on Jess Piper's feed on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh.
And so, yeah, if Jess Piper's watching, you know, please don't flame me. I'm sorry, I'm old because, you know, I don't know what it's called now, but it's called flaming, like, you know, 25 years ago when someone had something nasty to say to you on the internet. I believe Jess Piper was actually with Moms Demand Action back in 2020. Now, I can't prove that. I can't. But I think she was. If that's the case, she was being paid to go to the Capitol with Moms Demand Action by Soros. Soros was funding those groups all across the United States. And that group was in Missouri and was traveling around the country. The same group going from state to state to state to state. But I'm pretty sure Jess Piper was with them. And that was in 2020. And that was when, back then, we were called, Truth, Money, and Freedom Podcast. But we were fighting for SEPA. We were going up to the Capitol and getting co-sponsors and working the SEPA legislation, through the system and everything. But I do remember seeing Jess Piper up there. I'm almost positive it was her with Moms Demand Action wearing a red shirt. So at any rate, Jess Piper has several PACs that she collects money and she gives it to Democrats that are running for office. And I want to remind everyone she has a fourth PAC that is a tip PAC. And that is exactly how Jess gets paid, is through that fourth PAC. It's specifically designed for people to donate money to give to her directly. She is paid, and she won't even go up to the Capitol. She just, does her demagoguery on Twitter. Shame on her. I have repeatedly, anyone who has watched me interact with Jess on Twitter, Jess Piper, and if you don't know who she is, we'll cover her. Actually, we'll do a very special episode just for her in the near future.
I'm blocked.
Yeah, you're blocked by Jess already. Oh, sorry, Caleb. You're missing out on all the fun.
Am I?
I know, right?
Let's just say that if you're conservative, it's highly likely she will block you at some point. Let's just say that. But basically, I've been asking her to come up to the Capitol. Come up and join us for Knock and Shock. Come up and see what we do. She won't respond. She doesn't go to the Capitol. She's getting paid through a PAC to literally fund Democrats running for office in the state of Missouri. And she won't even go up to the Capitol. So at any rate, that's Jess Piper. So there are people who are paid. And I'm finding out, even on the good side, or the supposed good side, folks that get paid don't go to the Capitol. It's interesting. At least that get paid a lot. Let me put it that way. So those on the opposite side that get paid never come to the Capitol. Democrats don't show up there. They, really, it's rare. The fact that the League of Women Voters were up there at the Rotunda was amazing to me, because that's the first liberal group I've seen a presence on since Mom Demand Actions in 2020. So that's 4 years. So they don't go up there very often.
The Moms Demand Action did show up in 2023, remember? That was the first time we had seen them, because they were afraid to show up because of a cold.
The COVID, yep. That's right. I don't remember seeing them in 2023. I do remember seeing them in 2020.
We were there. They were walking around in their precious little red shirts, talking of, Charles was up there with us, and he was considering walking up to him and say, "Hey, I'm a German Jew. My family was killed because of gun control."
Gotcha. Well, there must have been some
because
gun
he is.
legislation
He's a German Jew,
time.
and his family was killed because of gun control.
Yep. Well, I don't think Moms Demand Action really care about what Charles's family situation is. It's all about. Go ahead.
I do know they care about parading around disabled children as pawns, because they had a kid in a wheelchair there. They were rolling into everybody's office.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, gang. Well, let me hash it out one more time here. Email is going out tomorrow. Didn't have time to do it today. And that's a strange one. Normally I do have them out on Saturdays, basically before the live stream. And I apologize about that. But basically we're starting a positive campaign to put pressure on Mike O'Donnell, chairman of the Financial Committee in the House that currently has HB 1955, the Constitutional Money Act. We need him to announce a hearing. Now, I did see Misty had put in, I believe it was on the YouTube side, I will check, that basically something about, here we go. The hearing notice for financial institutions hasn't been noticed up yet, so there's still hope that 1955 could be on the hearing notice this week, this coming up week. If that's the case, it'll be Tuesday. And that'll be very short notice. But guys, I'm just speaking for myself here. I'm letting you all know in advance very publicly. If that shows up in a hearing and I have 2 days notice, I'm going up for that hearing. I'm going up. Nothing's going to stop me. Now, I will send an email out and let everyone know. But if it's that short a notice, guys, I understand. Most people need more time than that to plan. But for those of you who can make it up for testifying in that committee hearing, would be very, very, very important and also very much appreciated. Not only by Bill Hardwick, but by me personally. This bill is near and dear to my heart. This is a very important bill in my opinion, and we need to get this done in the state of Missouri. So thank you for that, Misty, by the way. Let's see. Misty is saying some of the group I talked to with Moms Demand Action did believe in the Second Amendment. So, yep, some of them do, but what they're doing is they're trying to institute gun controls, nibbling around the edges of our natural right to self-defense. And we have to stop that anytime we see it, because we know how that ends up.
If you believe in any kind of gun control at all, I don't care what it is, even the National Firearms Act, you are not pro 2A.
Yep. Let's see. Let's see. Misty also says, I don't follow Jess. Twitter suggestions her tweets to me. So I don't follow Jess either, actually. But yeah, she ends up in my feed all the time because a lot of people that I follow will retweet her stuff, and they do that because they want help trolling her. And so that's the main reason people will do that, especially with accounts like that. It's not because they believe in it. Trust me. Okay. Agorizer said, got to run, but it's been great. Thank you for showing up, Agorizer. I do appreciate you being in the live stream. And once again, we're going to cut it off here. We're nearly at 2 hours, but I want to say again, our live streams, can be anywhere from an hour to almost 3 hours long. There's no set time for them, and it's, basically based on what, that I feel, it's time to shut down the live stream or something. But I want to say this. I know how precious everyone's time is because I deal with time constraints all the time myself. And I want to say how honored I am when people decide to watch what the Missouri Freedom Initiative is doing. We do not operate in the darkness. We operate in the light. Even people we oppose can come and watch our live streams and see what we're up to and know what we're going to do, and they will see our plans in advance. That doesn't bother me. We operate totally in the light, as opposed to some of the people we oppose who operate in darkness. And so we have to oppose that by operating in the light. But the important thing is, to me, is that you chose to take precious minutes, precious hours out of your Saturday to see what the Missouri Freedom Initiative is doing and see what you could do to help. And that means the world to me. Because there's lots of content you could be watching on a Saturday night. You could be spending it with your family. And I think 2 hours a week, for a live stream, for a state that's literally trying to reverse course, that doesn't want to be like Illinois, that wants freedom, that wants liberty, that wants gold and silver as legal tender in the state. We don't want personal property taxes anymore. And for the love of God, we should have gotten rid of it a long time ago. Our surpluses are huge every year, and they continue to spend it like there's no tomorrow. Why would our leaders do that to us in the state of Missouri when we have half of our budget coming in from the federal government? It's a recipe for absolute disaster. If the federal government ever starts withdrawing some of that financial support to the state of Missouri, it is going to be a bad day for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, for government. We should be cutting spending now. And the problem is leadership doesn't want to cut spending. They want to spend more. So this is a problem in Missouri. This is something that needs to be addressed as well. But it comes down to, once again, time. Do you have the time to help us out in the state of Missouri to help get that message across? Do you have time to help spread the message of freedom where it really needs to be heard, even if it's in a school board meeting? Because that's where you're needed. That's where your time is best spent. And I'm very appreciative of everyone who hangs out with us in the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We have over 2,600 email addresses in our database, if anyone was ever curious. Because you can't go by Twitter numbers and our YouTube numbers or our Rumble numbers, but that's how many people are on the email list. And I have a sneaking suspicion that almost all of them are in the state of Missouri. So that's how many people we have paying attention to us. And I am honored, basically by people who join us in our causes to make Missouri the absolute freest state of these 50 United States. And there's no reason we can't be, but we have to stand up for it. Every one of us needs to stand and actually be heard. And the Freedom Caucus and that rally was a tremendous first step to making sure that leadership understands we have had enough. Okay. All right. Sorry for the soapbox. Anyone have anything they'd like to add?
Hey, Pat.
Yes,
Oh, go ahead, Voodoo.
I have been posting on the Missouri Freedom Initiative on Facebook all the phone numbers for the committees that we need to be calling. And so those that are having trouble trying to navigate the website of the Senate or the House, if they look down and look at some of my posts, I take the time to enter each one of them.
Okay, thank you very much for doing that, Voodoo. I appreciate that. By the way, Voodoo is an admin over for the Missouri Freedom Initiative on Facebook. So I don't get on Facebook very often. Generally, my weapon of choice is Twitter when I have time. So Voodoo and Liberty Revolutionary are both admins over at Facebook, so they kind of take care of business over there. Thank you for all you do, Voodoo.
I need to go over there and check for spam again in some of the groups. We get so much spam across those groups of like Chinese shoe sales and stuff. It's like, why? How does that? I have seriously considered turning on post approval in those just to. But at the same time, it's also like you check every other day and you might delete 2 of them. So.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of that chat. That chat is ridiculous.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know how that's something Facebook just automatically added to the groups.
No, I remember Facebook threw that up to me as an option like a year ago, and I took the option to start the chat.
Yeah, it's become nothing but a spam center.
Okay, gotcha.
And
of course,
and it's getting absolutely nasty. So, I mean, rank nasty.
Yep.
Yeah. How do I even get into that?
Yep.
Well, it's under Messenger, and it's the Freedom Initiative Messenger chat, and it really needs to go. I have not had one post on it that was relative to anything.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't even realize their group had that on, and it doesn't come up in my notifications.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, there's some people in the chat right now talking about Logan needing to make another cameo. You know what? I'll make a phone call on that. Let's see what we can do to get Logan out there. And, basically, I meant when the House hearing comes up, basically that's where he shines, is actually speaking. He's a 10-year-old boy, and he just shines whenever he speaks to a committee. He is very good. So that's a good point. And in fact, if Logan or his family are watching tonight, I would really appreciate you guys chiming in on the chat side on YouTube or on Rumble, and let us know you heard that. But I do have a telephone number that I can actually call and talk to Logan's family members. So we can get in touch with Logan again. But you're right, it's time to activate our secret weapon. You hear that, Blocker? I'm just teasing, by the way. It's not really a secret weapon.
He's our little hero.
He is. He's our little celebrity, actually. Boy, oh boy, for a 10-year-old boy to actually go testify, I don't think that's ever happened before in the state of Missouri. That was like the first time. We have had 14 and 15-year-olds, but 10-year-olds, no. Logan actually set a new standard. And he spoke very well to Gold and Silver, by the way. I mean, that young man knows his stuff. He really does. And how do we get on the email list? OL Gunner asks. That's actually really simple. Go to our website, mofree.org. Mofree.org. It's down in the description section of all of our videos, everything we do. And on the right hand, pardon me, The right-hand side, just scroll down just a little bit. There's a place to get on our email list right there. And that's as simple as that. People have asked me in the past, they will email me with their email address and say, just put me in the email queue. And I don't do that. I want them to go through the system, because what Outlook did to us when they took down our account in 2022, or they shut us down and said we were sending out spam. I don't want to get accused of that. I don't send out emails to anyone on that list except for what they signed up for, which is newsletters and updates from the Missouri Freedom Initiative. I'm the sole proprietor of all the emails, by the way, and I don't share, sell, not even with people within our own organization. Those stay directly with me, and they are backed up. So I want you guys to know that there's no sharing or selling of data of any kind for any reason. It just doesn't happen. In fact, once in a blue moon, there's an email that comes in from one of you that I need to share with other people in the initiative, and I do a copy and paste from your email so they can't get your email address. So that's how seriously I take, people sharing their email address with the Freedom Initiative. And it's the same way with Ron Calzone, by the way. If you want to get on Ron Calzone's email list with Missouri First, once again, a different organization, another grassroots organization. And Ron Calzone, if you've never met him, I highly recommend you meet him at some point. A very impressive man. And he's been a freedom fighter in the state of Missouri. We refer to him as kind of the father of the liberty movement in the state of Missouri, because he's been doing this for 30 years, and he's still doing it. I would guess him at 60 years old, maybe 62 tops. So, okay. All right. Anything else? I'm going to look through the comments here real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Doug. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
There is a bill. Isaac found this bill. It's HB 1555. This is a bill that's going to allow the Department of Agriculture go onto your property and fine you for plants that they deem inappropriate. One of the plants that's on this bill is a Russian olive that the Conservation Department sold for about 20 years for wildlife cover and food. There's a lot of medicinal and edible plants on this. It's a bill we need to kill. It's in the natural resources and conservation. It's Salzman, and it's in his committee. It has not been assigned a hearing date yet.
Is that the one that they're trying to claim is about invasive species?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
I looked at that one. That thing just, no. That's a violation of your rights in so many ways.
I did talk to Representative Travis Smith, and he said if anybody had any comments on it, feel free to contact his office. He's not real thrilled about it, but he's not in that committee either. But I think we need to put pressure on that committee to kill that bill.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's that one. I know I was talking to Travis Smith over text the other day, and he was talking about a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do that he's not real happy with, including one. I think this is the same water bill, that Isaac had brought up before.
Probably
I
is.
think it's the same bill. It's the one that's wanting to put meters on people's wells.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Show up with a meter.
Show up with a meter and see what happens.
And actually, that sounds like the same bill that he had in 2023, and it did not go anywhere. And So I suspect the same thing is true again, but you're absolutely right. We have to identify these bills and make sure that if they get through one house, then basically the klaxons go off, red alert, red alert. But I doubt something like that is even going to get through the House. I could be mistaken. It didn't get through before. And I'm not trying to diminish, the importance of finding bills like this that are literally coming after our freedoms. But the fact of the matter is, I just don't see something like that going through. Not this year anyway. But you're right. We need to alert our reps on bills we want them to vote no on in case it shows up in front of them. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Doug.
Yeah, Isaac found that, and then Gary sent it to me and Maya, because at first they were like, well, what plants do we need to get off of here? And after I read it, it's like, no, the ag department is not coming on my property to find me for plants.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like I said, are medicinal, and we use on our livestock.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to tell me to get rid of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Don't tread on me in any way, and don't tread on my property either, please. Because we're Second Amendment folks.
Yes.
Fair warning.
It doesn't even talk about the ag department getting any type of search warrant or anything. So I mean, that would be a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Mm-hmm. I would think that would also be a violation of where is it? Article 1, Section 35. Right to farm.
Yep. So that's HB 1555. So if you guys want to add that to your list, basically of bills that you want, when you talk to your rep, make sure your rep knows, vote no on 1555. Give them the reasons why. We don't want government coming on our property. It's that simple. So of course it would have to be under the guise of, basically endangered species or invasive species or something like that.
They always do.
Misty said, apparently Lincoln Huff has a very dangerous land bill or land bank bill in the Senate. Everything that guy puts out is dangerous. Jeez, Lincoln Huff, man. Calm down a little, man. Stop being so
crab cakes himself.
I know
he's a communist.
He's tyrannical. He's a tyrant. And by the way, I mean I have said this before, and I'll probably say it one more time, and I won't say it again. For 2 years, his chief of staff wouldn't even let me in his office. She would literally put her arms up in the door jams when I came through, down the hallway, and stand there and talk to me, so I couldn't go in there and see Lincoln. She wasn't directly saying you can't come in. She just stayed right there like that in the doorway with both hands on the jam whenever I came up there. But so Lincoln apparently is uncomfortable talking to me a little bit, at least has been in the past. I'm not saying he's that way right now. I'm not sure.
He wants feudalism in Missouri.
Yeah. So
yay, feudalism.
I mean, here's the thing. He has the. I haven't gone by his office in a while, but the few times I've gone by there, he has the rudest staff.
Yeah, well, actually, Sierpoy. I hear that it's a kind of a toss-up between Huff and Sierpoy staff.
Sierpoy's pretty bad. He's just a jerk to everybody.
Yep.
A lot of people stay away from him.
Yep. Okay. All right, gang. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right now. But just so you know, if you're just watching on the live streams, we're always in a half an hour early in Gilded in the very same platform you're watching right now, through Rumble, YouTube, Odysee, or even Twitter. But we often continue the conversation in here, sometimes, for an hour. But we also come in a half an hour early, where it starts at 7:30 for the live stream. We're in at 7 o'clock, and we also stay late. So if you ever wanted to come in and just chat with us, you'd always be welcome to do so. So just remember, just because the conversation stops, or kind of stops, as far as the live stream is concerned, it still continues on in Gilded. If you've not joined us on Gilded, it is free. It's totally free. Just sign up for an account. And then we're looking at adding in the ability to do team talk, basically at some point in the near future, and integrate it in with Gilded. And there's a technological bottleneck I got to get through on that one. It really just involves, basically having 2 audio cards, I think. But at the same time, I wanted to let you know that that's coming up, so people could actually get on another way if they didn't want to get in through Gilded or have problems getting on through Gilded. So we're trying to make sure that everyone in Missouri can have a voice, basically with our organization. If you oppose us, that's nice. Just be nice about it. We have no problem with that. We're not scared of debate. So that's all we'd ask, that you keep it nice. And also, we always keep the language clean. So that's, fair warning for anyone who wants to come in, even if, they, normally don't swear or anything. On the live streams, it is a big no-no, because our live streams are carried on the radio on Sunday and Wednesdays. So what you see on the live streams here is also transmitted by Sam and Trish Britton at Missouri Liberty Radio on Sunday and on Wednesday as well. So, but at any rate, that's why, once again, we got to keep it clean here, gang. I want to thank all of you again for joining us. I really appreciate you spending, once again, your precious minutes with the Missouri Freedom Initiative. May God bless each and every one of you and all of your family members with good health, and may God grant us all the wisdom and the courage that we need to go forward to make sure that Missouri is a bastion of freedom. That's all for now, gang.